Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for day 7, the last day of the Light Wellness Experience Workshop. I know that schedules can be conflicting, and I've had a lot of individuals reach out and say, that you've been enjoying the workshops, but you just can't seem to catch up because that's life. Life gets in the way. And that's why we designed this workshop to be, 7 days long. We're going to keep all of the recordings up, right? We keep recordings up for you in case you missed the live sessions. We're going to keep those recordings up until 10 a.m. tomorrow because we also know that we have individuals joining from all over the world, not just in the Eastern time zone. And there are some individuals who these recordings happen or these live sessions happen in the middle of the night for you. So we want to give you the opportunity to be able to watch them. So that's why we're keeping the live session recordings up a whole extra 24 hours after the last day has completed. With that said, feel free to tap back in at any time and watch the recordings. This workshop is also provided every 8 to 10 weeks. Again, we understand that watching videos sometimes, 30 to 60 minutes, sometimes plus, can be time consuming, and you might not have a lifestyle and a daily schedule or routine that's conducive to watching them, whether they're live or even catching up on the recordings. It's okay. Don't sweat it. We come back and provide this education to you as close as the same as possible every 8 to 10 weeks. The first 4 days are always circadian health, light wellness metrics, light wellness applications, and light wellness return and value of investment. The last 3 days are usually some kind of spin-off of different practices and how to integrate everything that you've learned in the first 4 days into your practice. So this time we had special guests with a sleep clinician inside pediatric and shift work disciplines. Next workshop, we are going to be talking to a sleep psychologist. We are also going to be talking to some individuals who struggle with certain health disorders like seasonal affective disorder. And so we're going to kind of tackle that conversation from both ends with sleep psychology and the patients that they work with, right? And maybe not the exact patients of the sleep psychologist, but individuals, community members, much like yourself, who may be struggling and who can provide some insight and some support and some experiential value to the discussions that we have. And sometimes that's what's missing, right? Sometimes in order to really understand this, you have to experience it or know someone who has experienced it. And that's why we call this the Light Wellness Experience Workshop. It's why we provide the guidelines to you on page 3 or 2 of your workbook. If you joined our PTOT or holistic and integrative practice sessions over the last 2 days, please feel free to use the workbook as a reference as you're building these principles into your existing practice, or if you're starting your own practice, right? This is a good starting point. And at any point, please feel free to reach out. As you know, I have been your direct concierge throughout this workshop experience. Many of you have reached out, and I have loved engaging in conversations with you. But there's plenty who haven't, and that's okay. But I want you to know that this experience workshop is an opportunity for you to get free consultations to discuss anything you want to talk about. Right? Whether it's material that you learned inside the education sessions, whether it's observations you've made while you've been applying these light wellness guidelines throughout the experience workshop, or whether it's to kind of just talk about some of the health issues that you've had in the past and how you might be able to further address the light and health or circadian health conversation with your primary care physician or specialist. There are so many ways that you can approach understanding and becoming educated or educating on light and health and circadian health. And we'd love to be that touchstone for you. So This session, this workshop is free consultations throughout all of the workshops. So if you miss the opportunity for a consultation inside this workshop, in 8 to 10 weeks, we'll post dates on, we haven't figured out the official dates yet, but once we have those dates set in stone, we will post them inside the network and all over our social media for you, so that you know when the next workshop is coming. And you can always use the next workshop as an opportunity to have that consultative conversation as well. Otherwise, all consultations after or outside of the Experience Week workshops are set at billed at traditional rates. Those rates are available on www.lightvitalitygroup.com/trade or www.lightvitalitygroup.com/community. And if you scroll down at the bottom of the information section of details, you'll see a button that says general consultation rates. So feel free to reach out and look at those. Also know that we are a provider of BIOS lighting light bulbs. And I have a sample for you right here to look at. And we'll talk a little bit more about this inside today's discussion, light wellness for business owners, right? We have light bulbs that are available to you. So if you are interested in trying out a light wellness solution, we have a very cost-effective, simple installation, manual control light bulb that you can use to test out your light wellness solutions and see if making a bigger investment in the future for renovating your overall lighting system is the right move for you. Again, these are very cost effective. They are, depending on what type you're getting, what size, they range anywhere from $9 to $18, which is much like the LED bulbs that you already find inside retail stores, except these ones have been spectrally optimized to support circadian health. So you're getting so much more value of investment. So let's talk about that. Let's go break into our official last day discussion, light wellness for business owners. As you know, we discussed on day 4, and if you haven't watched day 4, watch it. We said on day 4 that there is something called personal gains and professional gains, right? And personal gains are those that we see in physical, mental, and emotional performance while also reducing our own individual healthcare expense, right? Professional gains are those seen in an employee's physical, mental, and emotional performance, while also reducing the employer's PTO and healthcare expense per employee, right? So if you are a small business owner and you are recognizing that, you might be having a high turnover employees because you don't think that your employees are being productive enough or bringing enough to the table in terms of sales and revenue, or maybe they're costing you too much money. They're taking too many days off. They're calling in sick all the time, and it's just become a headache for you. Maybe I encourage you to pause, step back, and take a look at the whole picture, right? Because especially if they are employees who are spending the majority of their day inside your office, take a look at your office and be mindful, right, of what kind of lighting you're delivering throughout the course of the day, right? Are you delivering an electric lighting solution that has the ability to support circadian health, right? And if not, do you have enough windows on the eastern and southern facing sides in order to allow enough daylight access to penetrate into your space so that employees can utilize that light wellness solution? If you do have windows, are your employees situated in a way where they have a lot of access for a longer duration of time through those windows or by those windows? Right? So if you look at the light wellness guidelines on page 2 from the workbook at the beginning of this workshop you received, you will see that we have very specific time markers for getting light at a certain time of day from a certain orientation of the sun, right? And for a specific duration of time. Are your employees able to follow those light wellness guidelines? Are you, right? Are you someone who's struggling with that as well? And even though you're a business owner, sometimes it's really, really hard to get into work or to get started that day, right? Or maybe you're a small business owner who doesn't have employees yet. And part of the reason is because you just don't have the energy and the health to be able to, keep, to get to the point where your company can make enough money to hire another employee, right? So there are so many things to consider. There are plenty of other opportunities for employers to provide sleep health interventions as well. Light wellness is just one of them. But as we have indicated, is that there are 3 types of employees that can be have been broken down in evidence-based research, right? In these clinical studies. There are poor sleep health employees, right? That cost an employer on average about $5,000 a year. Now, this statistic was from almost a decade ago, so I can imagine how much higher that number is now. And if I can find updated research, I will gladly share that with you all. Then we have a medium or moderate sleep health employee, which typically costs an employer about anywhere from $2,500 to $3,500 annually. Right? And then we have the high sleep health employee, which only costs on average an employer about $450 annually. That's like 1 to 2 extra days taking off of work. And that could be for any reason. That could be because of a family crisis or a familial need, some type of schedule change. That could be because of their own health, right? Maybe they caught the flu and they decided to take Friday off or Monday off in order to recover. The general gist is that high sleep health employees have stronger immune systems. They have stronger circadian rhythms. So all of the biofunctions that are tied to circadian health and to sleep-wake cycles are stronger, like heart rhythms, like immune system responses, like our gut health, right? How many times have you wanted to call in sick because your stomach just wasn't feeling very good and you thought it might be something that you ate, but you feel like you've been eating well and you've been tailoring your diet and your nutrition in a way so that you shouldn't feel this bad, right? That might be circadian rhythm disruption, right? It could be a mild disruption. It could be a major disruption. And how can we identify that, right? We identify that by seeing the difference in our sleep-wake times from a day-to-day pattern, and then looking at that day-to-day pattern and seeing, okay, if I'm looking at 5 days, Monday to Friday, or let's say Monday to Saturday, because Saturday is the day we all get to sleep in if we want to, right? Typically. Is your body waking you up naturally? Is your internal alarm clock waking you up at the same time that your alarm clock goes off? Or are you needing to sleep in 2, 3 extra hours, right? That's a huge indicator of whether or not your circadian rhythm is aligned or disrupted, and could be a reason for you to go and talk to your healthcare practitioner and to see what may be going on. Right? So with that said, let's talk a little bit about the return on investment versus the value of investment of a light wellness solutions or other sleep health interventions like sleeping pods, right? Or maybe outfitting a special room, then soundproofing it and providing, dim lighting to be able to allow individuals who are leaning into that post-lunch dip, right? That natural circadian function of sleep-wake cycles in the middle of the day where we get just a bit too sleepy to stay awake, all right? We can either lean into that nap, which is good. Naps are healthy if you're able to do so, right? Less than 60 minutes per session in the middle of the day. Or you can fight that post-lunch dip, right? You can go out and you can get natural daylight to suppress your melatonin that's going to wind up peaking in the middle of the day, right? Or if you have a special room in your office that's outfitted specifically for light wellness solutions, you might have either more lights in that room or lights with higher output in that room, and have a dimmer in that room. So you can adjust between high output if someone needs to suppress their melatonin and be able to stay awake and alert alert and focused for that big meeting that's coming up in an hour, or they can dim it all the way down to a nice low light put level, so that, or completely off in a soundproof room, so that they can try to fall asleep for about 15 to 30, maybe even 45 minutes in the middle of the day, so that they can get that extra recharge and be more productive for you in the tail end of the day. Because meetings don't always happen in one part of the first half of the day or in the second half of the day. Meetings happen when people's schedules happen, right? Or they meet the needs of what people's schedules and their lifestyle is. So if you're someone who is dragging in the morning and needs a pick me up in the afternoon, right? Try to lean into light wellness and either suppress your melatonin or lean into that nap so that you can be more productive later in the day for your later meetings, right? It's the same kind of concept, right? We want early morning daylight that has that high spectral content so that we can suppress our melatonin, so we can be super productive, really alert, focused, concentrated, less prone to accidents, right? And so that leads us directly into the ROI versus VOI conversation. Return on investment is a financial indicator. The value of investment, right, are indicators that ultimately wind up manifesting as financial indicators or net savings, if you will. And these indicators are things like participation, right, performance, productivity, health risk factors, right, preventative health factors, utilization indicators, right, shareholder value. That's a value of investment that many people overlook. And some shareholders might see more value in an organization that tends to sleep health, so that because they recognize that those are going to be more productive and more revenue generating employees than poor sleep health employees, right? So there are a lot of reasons to look at investing and renovating and upgrading your lighting system to support sleep health in order to see a return on investment. And it's because of that value of investment, right? And what do we mean by health risk indicators, right? That's that workers' comp, right? Individuals who are less focused, less concentrated, who are too sleepy, right, and aren't getting naps, or getting quality sleep in the night, and are not able to lean into their post-lunch dip so that they can keep going throughout the day, they might be more prone to accidents. Maybe it is someone in the back storage room of a warehouse who's trying to restock shelves, and they trip and fall and hit their head on a shelf, or maybe they're on a ladder and they fall off of the ladder, right? Maybe it's an individual who is working at a desk and they are having to staple papers and they accidentally staple their hand, right? Or maybe it's a packing. Maybe you're in the logistics and shipping department, and you're using box cutters and you're not paying attention, or you're not able to pay as well of attention, or maybe your coordination is off because your muscles are a little bit weaker and you just super fatigued, and you wind up slicing a finger or slicing a part of your hand and need stitches, right? Workers' comp, you pay out for so much of that as a small business owner. And so you pay high prices and high premiums in order to have that covered, right? So, little things to think about on how you may be able to potentially save money by being, a company or a small business that tends to your employees' circadian health and sleep-wake biofunction. Can hear my little one in the background. So what are some ways that, we can actually achieve this? What are some things that you can do in order to tend to your employees' sleep health? Well, as we said, you can start small by purchasing some simple, dimmable, spectrally optimized light bulbs, right, that have a cooler, kind of bluer spectrum during the day, and then you can dim them down and reduce that intensity while also removing the blue content, right? So you can see the quality of the light is very different. You can see the difference in color temperature, that appearance, right? color, temperature, and spectrum are not created equal. And then we remove that blue content that helps suppress our melatonin so that we have a nice warm light, and then it dims down even more until you get it to off, right? Lighting solutions right now that are more architecturally integrated tend to be very expensive, right? And so this is a good way to kind of initiate your light wellness renovation solution for upgrading your lighting system. You can go, full force and you can renovate your lighting system if you believe in it already. And I think that is incredible. There are plenty of opportunities to work with you inside Light Vitality Group consulting on how to do so. But aside from upgrading your facility's lighting and controls solutions, you can create, if you already have spaces, nested spaces inside your office or a private office that is, rarely used, or, maybe, just any kind of private space where you can close the door, you can soundproof it, you can install a dimmer on those lights and, try to provide a nice little sleep space. You can install sleep pods, and I'll drop in a post later a manufacturer or two of the types of relaxation and sleep pods that we're seeing kind of major corporations install, and maybe even some smaller businesses install in order to tend to sleep health. You can provide discounted rates and, for things like for like Fitbits or Apple Watches, as we discussed with Nicole Sonderman over the last 2 days, our sleep technician, special guest. They have reached a level of accuracy that rivals the clinical observation, right? And so you can use those as a means to be able to help your employees monitor their sleep-wake cycles and other areas and biofunctions of circadian health if those applications apply inside, the specific products. And then if your employees are registering, those apps and, making those observations and seeing, hey, I might actually have a little bit of a sleep health issue, then they can take it upon themselves to go see a sleep specialist and have that remedied, right? Or make use of the quiet rooms or the bright rooms that you provide for them in order to tend to their sleep health as well. I hope that you see that there are lots of opportunities to actually be able to, create a return on investment through identifying the value of investment in your small business. And to break it down a little further, we have been working on something called the ROI calculator for businesses. And I have been working with a financial and accounting specialist who has much experience inside risk assessment for investments for small businesses versus large businesses. And so we've been in the process of figuring out the best way to create this calculator. But at the end of the day, the equation stands like this. The return on investment is the light wellness gains subtracted from the initial employee value divided by the cost of the light wellness system times 100, right? So it's a very traditional ROI calculation, but to plug in the values associated to a light wellness system and a sleep health understanding, we have swapped out the value of investment versus the initial cost, divided by the returns, right? So we are looking at the light wellness gains. What are light wellness gains, right? It's the value of employee productivity and health-related cost savings per employee sleep health group. So looking at how much more productive, right, how much more money your client or your employee is able to make you as a high sleep health employee versus a poor sleep health employee, right? So what number value is that? How much more money are they is, you know, a high sleep health employee making over a poor sleep health employee? And then looking at health related cost savings, how much money are you saving in comparison to the poor sleep health employee against the high sleep health employee, right? As we know, you are spending about 1,000 times more on a poor sleep health employee because a high sleep health employee is costing you like a tenth of the cost. And so we've broken that down inside the calculator. And then we look at, all right, so that's the light wellness gains. Then we subtract your initial employee value, right? And that's the difference of the average revenue generated and the productivity losses per employee sleep group health, right? Or health, or sleep health group. So what we're saying is how much they traditionally made, right? Against what kind of losses they are seeing, again, you know, compared between each sleep health employee group. And then we divide all of that by a one-time initial cost for your light wellness system, right? That's the total cost of light wellness fixtures, controls, installation, and programming. And the thing about it is that light wellness system that you're dividing by, right? If you want to take a quick screenshot, I'll also probably be posting it another time. That light wellness system is a one-time cost, right? But the gains are annual. You're going to see those gains every year, right? And the initial employee value, that's a one-time value, right? But you're going to keep seeing those gains and those savings, and you're going to see higher productivity as time goes on as you as an employer are tending to their sleep health. So it's such an interesting concept to be able to wrap your head around as an employer and to think about the good that you can do for your company, but also the good that you're going to be doing for your employees, right? Employees that stay are happy employees, and you want to make your employees happy, especially if they're really productive ones, right? And one way to be able to do that is to make sure that they feel like their health is being taken care of, right? So if you're an employer who provides a health savings account, encourage them to use the health savings account to purchase light bulbs for themselves, to be able to recommend a certain lighting and light and health interventions, or maybe sleep health interventions. Encourage them to maybe use the health savings account to buy that discounted or that rebated Apple Watch or actigraphy device that they will be able to use to kind of observe their sleep health as well. I'll post a couple of images showing the difference between a healthy sleep health individual and individuals with severely disrupted circadian rhythms. This particular example is of a bipolar patient. As I said, in 8 to 10 weeks, we are going to have a new discussion with sleep health psychologists and with patients who struggle with disorders that are tied to sleep health dysregulation and circadian dysregulation. One of those patient groups are bipolar disorder patients. So this is just showing you with actigraphy readings the difference between a healthy control against a patient who has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. You can see that the healthy control has very regulated activity during the day and regulated sleep activity at night, versus a bipolar patient who has very irregular daytime, wakeful activity versus evening sleeping activity. There is much, you can see, whoops, I'm all over the place. As you can see, this very much represents the manic versus depressive behavioral lifestyle. And then on the bottom, we can see how that regulates as well. The dysregulation in sleep-wake cycles, and then the extremes between the positive, which is mania, and the negative, which is depression, with bright light therapy combined with dark light therapy and extended bed rest, particularly for this patient group, you can see significant realignment in their sleep-wake cycles and circadian health, and you can see a significant balance in mania versus depression to have a more equalized emotional, kind of output or experience, if you will. You can see the same concept here between mood and sleep, with the dark outer lines being nighttime periods where you should be awake or asleep, and the lighter portion where you would be awake. So you're seeing higher mood and activity observations and clinical reporting inside the wakeful period, which is what you want, right? Because that's when you're awake, right? And you want to be asleep in those other times. So you don't want to get a clinical reading that I'm having a manic or depressive episode in the middle of the night. And so yeah, these are just a couple of examples to show you, this is what one of your employees could look like. The difference between a healthy, a high sleep health and a poor sleep health employee. And one of the major ways that we can support individuals who have these types of extremes is through electric light and natural daylight interventions. And again, having a conscious understanding of how to move between indoors and out underneath daylight and electric light sources from morning to evening, and what that means for our circadian health and our sleep-wake cycles more specifically, and thus all of the other circadian rhythm biofunctions that are tied to that alignment and that rhythm being intact. So I hope that this was helpful for you. We can have a much longer conversation if you're interested in developing some sort of sleep health intervention or light wellness intervention inside your organization. I'd be more than happy to schedule a time to talk to you about that. And I appreciate you all sticking it out with me for this 7-day light wellness experience workshop. As you know, we have another one coming in 8 to 10 weeks, and I hope you can all join us again. Anything that you may have missed, let us know, and we'll make sure to reiterate that in the upcoming workshop in a few months. I hope that this came in just in time for all of you who, have fathers out there that you want to see happy and healthy. I know that my father is starting to get up there in age, and some of his health conditions are, starting to show as well across that age spectrum. And so, whatever we can do to be able to support the individuals who we love, so that we can support ourselves, so we can support individuals who depend on us, right? This education is so important to understand. And it's so important because we need to start putting it into practice more readily, more accessibly, and more widespread. So thank you so much for your interest in the light wellness discussion and conversation. I hope that you have been able to use the guidelines that were provided to you and to apply them in a way where you are seeing transformations in one or two or more of the circadian biofunctions that we discussed on day 1 and throughout the last 7 days. And, I really appreciate all of you joining me, and I hope to see your faces again, and I hope to continue the conversations that we've begun. And with that said, as you know, be well, rest well, and always remember to live lighthearted. Take care.